She thinks about you more than you realize. She notices every small detail. And yet, she never texts first, not because she doesn't care, but because she cares too much. Stay with me, because by the end of this speech, you'll understand the real reason silence doesn't always mean disinterest. It often means emotional conflict. When a woman genuinely likes you, something subtle but powerful happens inside her. Her emotional defenses start to weaken. And for someone who has learned to survive by staying guarded, that can feel deeply unsettling. Reaching out, initiating contact, or showing interest isn't a casual act for her. It's an emotional declaration. It's her silently saying, "You matter to me, and I'm allowing you to affect me." That level of openness can feel terrifying, especially if her past has taught her that vulnerability often comes with disappointment, rejection, or emotional neglect. So instead of leaning in, she hesitates, not because she doesn't want connection, but because connection feels like standing unprotected in front of someone who now has the ability to hurt her. Many women are emotionally aware enough to know that once they express how they feel, they can't undo it. Once they text first, care becomes visible. Once care is visible, expectations follow. And expectations, in her mind, create the possibility of being let down. So she overthinks. She rereads old messages. She analyzes your tone, your response time, your words. She wonders if she imagined the chemistry or if it was mutual. And in that mental loop, silence begins to feel safer than expression. Silence doesn't expose her heart. Silence keeps her in control. Silence allows her to protect the version of herself that once trusted too easily. There's also an internal conflict happening that most people never see. On one side, she wants closeness. She wants to talk to you, share moments, feel emotionally connected. On the other side, there's a voice reminding her of past pain. Times she reached out and wasn't met with the same energy. Times she invested emotionally and felt foolish for caring more than the other person. That voice is loud. It tells her that initiating contact might make her look desperate, attached, or weak. And even if those beliefs aren't true, they feel real to her nervous system. So she stays quiet, hoping you'll bridge the gap so she doesn't have to risk being the one who cared more. What makes this even more confusing is that the depth of her feelings often determines the depth of her fear. If she only liked you casually, texting wouldn't feel risky. But because she likes you deeply, every move feels loaded with meaning. She knows that once she lets herself fall, she won't fall halfway. And that awareness makes her cautious. She may believe that holding back protects her heart, even though it simultaneously keeps her distant. From the outside, it looks like indifference. From the inside, it's emotional self-preservation. This fear of vulnerability doesn't mean she lacks confidence or maturity. In many cases, it means she's emotionally intelligent enough to know what's at stake. She understands that emotional attachment changes people, that it creates dependency, hope, and fear all at once. So until she feels emotionally safe, until she senses consistency, reassurance, and genuine interest, she may choose silence over expression, restraint over reach, distance over desire, even while thinking about you far more than she lets on. When a woman genuinely likes you but doesn't contact you, it's often because she's observing rather than disengaging. This isn't a conscious game or manipulation. It's an emotional assessment rooted in self-protection and clarity. She wants to understand one thing before she invests further. Is your interest consistent even when she steps back? For many women, attraction isn't proven by intensity in moments of closeness, but by steadiness in moments of distance. So she creates space not to punish or confuse you, but to see what remains when the excitement settles and effort becomes a choice rather than a reaction. She may believe that if she always initiates, always checks in, always keeps the connection alive, she'll never truly know whether you're choosing her or simply responding to availability. When she pulls back, she's watching carefully. Does the connection collapse the moment she stops carrying it? Do you reach out calmly and confidently, or do you disappear the same way she did? In her mind, consistency without prompting equals genuine interest. Silence becomes a mirror. She wants to see what reflects back when she's no longer guiding the interaction. There is also a deeper emotional reason behind this behavior. Many women have learned, often through painful experience, that effort given too early or too freely can lead to imbalance. They may have been in situations where they cared deeply, showed up emotionally, and later realized they were the only ones doing so. That experience teaches restraint. So now, instead of chasing clarity, she waits for it to reveal itself. She wants to feel chosen without having to ask to be chosen. Initiating contact feels like influencing the outcome, and she wants the truth unfiltered by pressure or expectation. This testing phase is less about you and more about her internal standards. She's asking herself questions she may not even be fully aware of. Can this person handle space without losing interest or becoming controlling? Can he remain emotionally present without needing constant reassurance? Does he value me enough to make the effort when it's not easy? These questions matter because they determine whether she feels safe enough to open up later. If she doesn't see stability now, she assumes instability later, and that assumption makes her retreat further into silence. What's important to understand is that this kind of testing is often driven by emotional maturity rather than insecurity. She's not trying to provoke anxiety. She's trying to avoid disappointment. She believes that real interest shows itself naturally, without chasing, without pressure, without performance. By stepping back, she gives you the opportunity to show who you are when there's no immediate reward, no emotional prompting, and no guarantee of outcome. To her, that's the most honest version of attraction. So when she doesn't contact you, it may not be because she's losing interest, but because she's gathering information. She's paying attention to patterns, not words. She's noticing whether your effort feels intentional or conditional. And in that quiet observation, she's deciding whether you're someone she can trust with her emotions, someone who chooses her not because she's present, persistent, or available, but because he genuinely wants to be there. When a woman has been emotionally hurt in the past, silence often becomes a learned survival strategy rather than a sign of indifference. Emotional pain leaves memory in the nervous system, not just in the mind. So even when she meets someone she genuinely likes, her body remembers what happened the last time she opened up too quickly, trusted too deeply, or invested without certainty. That memory creates hesitation. Reaching out first no longer feels romantic or exciting. It feels dangerous. It feels like stepping back into a situation where she once lost herself, her balance, or her emotional stability. She may have been the one who cared more in a previous relationship, the one who initiated conversations, planned connection, and emotionally showed up, only to realize later that her effort was taken for granted. That kind of experience reshapes how she approaches closeness. Now, when she feels herself becoming emotionally attached, she pulls back instinctively, not because she doesn't want love, but because she doesn't want to repeat the version of herself that felt foolish for caring too much. Silence becomes a boundary. It's her way of saying, without words, that she will not overextend again until she knows it's safe. There is also a deep fear of emotional regression that drives this behavior. She knows how easily patterns repeat themselves when emotions are involved. One message leads to another. One moment of vulnerability turns into emotional dependence. And before she realizes it, she's emotionally invested in someone who may not be capable of meeting her at the same depth. That awareness makes her cautious. She would rather seem distant than lose control over her emotions. In her mind, restraint equals strength, and silence equals self-respect, even though it contradicts what she actually feels. What complicates this further is that she may genuinely enjoy your presence and feel drawn to you, yet still resist acting on it. Attraction doesn't erase trauma. Emotional chemistry doesn't override lessons learned through pain. So instead of following her desire, she negotiates with it. She tells herself to slow down, to observe, to wait. She believes that if she can maintain emotional distance now, she can protect herself from disappointment later. And that belief makes her less likely to initiate contact, even when she wants to. This kind of emotional caution often comes from a place of self-awareness rather than bitterness. She knows what emotional overinvestment costs, and she's no longer willing to pay that price blindly. She wants proof before vulnerability, consistency before commitment, and emotional safety before expression. Until she sees that, she holds back, not to manipulate, but to heal in real time while still allowing herself to feel something for you. Her silence then is not emotional coldness. It's unresolved emotional memory guiding her behavior. It's the part of her that once trusted too easily, now insisting on boundaries. And while she may want to reach out, laugh with you, and connect freely, there's an internal voice reminding her that healing means moving differently this time, even if it means staying quiet while her feelings continue to grow internally. Some women grow up internalizing the idea that attraction is fragile and that showing too much interest too soon can make them lose value in someone's eyes. Whether this belief comes from cultural messaging, past relationships, or advice they've absorbed over time, it becomes deeply ingrained in how they manage desire. So when she really likes you, her instinct isn't always to move closer, it's to step back. In her mind, restraint preserves mystery, and mystery sustains attraction. Contacting you too often feels like revealing too much, too quickly, and she fears that once the mystery is gone, so is the excitement. She may genuinely enjoy talking to you and feel emotionally connected, yet still choose silence as a strategy rather than an absence of feeling. To her, space is not emptiness, it's a tool. She believes that if she creates distance, you'll feel her absence and naturally gravitate toward her. This belief isn't necessarily manipulative, it's often learned. Many women have been told directly or indirectly that men value what they have to work for, that effort increases desire, and that availability reduces attraction. So instead of expressing how she feels, she manages how she's perceived. There's also a deeper fear underneath this mindset, the fear of becoming predictable. Predictability in her mind equals complacency. She worries that if you know she likes you, you might stop trying, stop pursuing, or take the connection for granted. So she withholds initiative to maintain a sense of balance. Silence becomes her way of keeping the dynamic alive, even though it may feel counterintuitive. She assumes that if she pulls back just enough, you'll lean in and the connection will feel more exciting rather than settle too soon. What she may not fully realize is that this approach often comes from a place of emotional self-control rather than emotional honesty. She's trying to regulate attraction rather than express it. Instead of asking herself how she feels, she asks herself how she should behave to maintain interest. And in that process, genuine communication is replaced with calculated distance. She isn't lying about her feelings. She's suppressing them, believing that expression would weaken her position in the connection. This belief system can create an internal contradiction. On one hand, she wants closeness, reassurance, and emotional connection. On the other hand, she believes that too much closeness too soon will ruin everything. So she stays quiet, hoping absence will speak louder than words. She waits for you to notice the gap she's created, to miss her presence, to reach out first. In her mind, your effort during her silence becomes proof of attraction, confirmation that the connection is still alive without her having to reveal how deeply she cares. Her silence, then, isn't emptiness. It's intentional distance shaped by a belief that desire needs space to breathe. She may be counting the days, replaying conversations, and feeling the pull toward you, all while resisting the urge to reach out. Because to her, holding back feels like protecting the spark, even if it means sacrificing the comfort of open communication and the relief of being emotionally honest in the moment. For some women, not contacting you first has less to do with fear or strategy and more to do with identity. Her sense of self-respect is closely tied to how she shows up emotionally. She believes that dignity means not chasing, not overextending, and not placing herself in a position where her effort could be overlooked or undervalued. When she really likes you, the stakes feel higher, and with higher stakes comes a stronger need to preserve her pride. Reaching out first, especially when she's unsure of your level of interest, can feel like lowering herself emotionally, even if that belief is shaped more by past conditioning than present reality. She may have learned through experience or observation that the person who invests first often ends up investing more. That imbalance can slowly erode self-worth. So now, instead of following her impulse to connect, she checks herself. She asks whether contacting you aligns with her standards, whether it reflects the kind of woman she wants to be. Silence becomes a form of self-alignment. It's not about power over you. It's about power over herself. She would rather be perceived as distant than risk feeling internally diminished by giving more than she receives. There's also a strong emotional boundary at play here. If she feels uncertain about where she stands with you, initiating contact feels like stepping into emotional ambiguity, and ambiguity threatens pride. She doesn't want to wonder whether you're responding out of interest or politeness, whether she's interrupting your life or being welcomed into it. So she waits. She believes that if you truly value her, you'll create clarity through your actions. That way, when she does open up, it feels mutual rather than one-sided. And pride in this context is often misunderstood. It's not arrogance or ego, it's self-preservation. It's the part of her that refuses to repeat situations where she felt small, ignored, or emotionally exposed without reciprocity. When she stays silent, she's protecting the image she has of herself as someone who is chosen, not chased. She wants to feel desired without having to prove her worth through effort. That belief may not always lead to healthy communication, but it feels emotionally safer to her than risking rejection. What makes this especially complex is that her silence can coexist with deep affection. She may think about you often, feel emotionally connected, and even hope you'll reach out. But she doesn't want to be the one to bridge the gap, because doing so feels like compromising her self-respect. She equates restraint with strength and patience with value, so she holds back, trusting that if the connection is real, it will move forward without her having to push it. In her mind, maintaining pride is not about winning or losing, it's about staying true to herself. She believes that the right person won't require her to abandon her standards or question her worth. Until she feels that certainty, she chooses silence, not because she lacks feelings, but because she values herself enough to wait rather than risk feeling emotionally diminished by reaching out first. For many women, attention alone is meaningless without emotional safety. Compliments, messages, and interest can be easy to receive, but feeling safe enough to be emotionally open is rare. When she really likes you, she becomes more selective about how and when she engages, because she understands that emotional closeness requires more than conversation. It requires consistency, predictability, and respect. So if she doesn't contact you, it may be because she's assessing whether you provide a sense of emotional grounding rather than momentary excitement. She may be watching how you handle space, silence, and uncertainty. Does your energy remain calm or does it become reactive? Do you respect her boundaries or do you try to force closeness before trust is built? Emotional safety is revealed in how someone responds to distance, not just how they behave in moments of connection. If she senses impatience, pressure, or emotional volatility, she pulls back further. Silence becomes her way of slowing the pace until she feels secure enough to move forward. There is also a deep awareness within her that emotional attachment changes the dynamic of any connection. Once she opens up, she knows she won't be able to detach easily. That's why she's careful. She's not withholding contact to be distant. She's waiting to feel regulated within the connection. She wants to know that if she expresses her feelings, they will be met with steadiness rather than confusion. Until she feels that emotional environment is safe, she chooses observation over participation. This waiting period is often quiet and internal. While she may not be reaching out, she's paying attention to your actions, your consistency, and your emotional tone. She notices whether your interest remains respectful without constant reassurance. She observes whether your presence feels grounding or destabilizing. Emotional safety, to her, means knowing that she can be herself without being questioned, rushed, or made to feel responsible for managing your emotions. What many people misunderstand is that silence does not mean she is emotionally unavailable. In fact, it often means the opposite. She is emotionally capable but cautious. She values depth over immediacy and connection over intensity. She wants to feel that when she steps forward emotionally, she won't be met with mixed signals or emotional unpredictability. So she waits, allowing time and behavior to speak louder than words. Her lack of contact is not a request for attention. It's a quiet search for reassurance through consistency. She's looking for signs that emotional closeness with you would feel safe, stable, and mutual. And until that sense of safety is established, she remains reserved, holding her feelings close, not because they are small, but because they matter enough to protect.